So how broke is this brake line? The answer is yes.
Soft line and hard line both popped. They've got this weird little two-piece plate that holds your negative cable, your ground, everything else, but it connects to the battery plate. You want to get this thing out of the way so you can get down there. You remove this to do the fuel pump too. Or not the fuel pump, but the fuel filter.
This is Crazy Carl's 1999 Kia Sportage EX. Now, this little guy, longtime viewers of the channel know very well. It is technically the first video we've ever posted here. It's also the one that has the most content. It's also the one that's given us the most trouble. About a year or so ago, the brake line on the front passenger side rusted through, thus temporarily ending our Kia Sportage shenanigans. So today, we've come up with a solution. Crazy Carl is going to attempt to splice the line because rerouting the line in a sensible direction meant doing fun things like lifting the engine out of the vehicle so we could reroute the line where it was, or doing nonsensical things like rerouting a brake line over the engine or around the front bumper or over the transmission. So once again, we're involved in the shenanigans of make do instead of make proper. Hopefully this works.
I get to play where do these bolts go later. And now I can get to the brake line, which is going to be fun. And yes, I'm having to splice it because you have to remove the engine to replace it.
Yep. We did look at replacing it. It was not going to happen.
Yeah. A, I couldn't find a replacement, so I was going to have to make it myself anyways. And B, it passes along the firewall behind the engine block in such a way that you have to remove the engine to get to it. So, yeah.
Yep.
You might be able to just drop the engine somehow, but I don't know if you could do that. But there's no way to work between the engine block and the firewall.
Either way, we're trying to do without moving an engine today.
Yeah, so I'm going to be splicing, which is going to be fun. Yeah, I should have been filming with the brakes on now. I've gotten where the line's broken off. I'm trying to cut it down. Hopefully I can do a splice through that. I got the soft line off. I ended up cutting the tip off with the bolt cutter because that thing was a nightmare. The bolt's completely stripped. Finally managed to get it to move enough that I could knock that retaining clip out and just pop it right out of there. That was a nightmare, but I got it. Now I'm trying to cut the broke end off so I can get a smooth end, and then I'm going to try to clear some of the insulation off, and hopefully I can make a splice point. I don't know if I can or not, but I'm going to try do it down here because up inside is going to be even harder. And that second line there is for the four-wheel drive air supply, which doesn't work currently, but it's that's why I did manual hubs. Still trying to get those rebuilt. Having trouble finding all the parts I need for the vacuum hub rebuild. And I've got a big screwdriver right up there to hold that line back out of the way. This screwdriver's holding this line forward. So, fun times. Okay, there's a rubber coating. I've slit it and pushed it back and tied it back with a bread tie so I can cut a clean cut here. And I'm going to try to make a splice joint on this, and I want that rubber to be able to be put back over to cover anywhere where it might rub. And there's a little bit of glue here that I'm trying to clean off, and I'm using this little cutter. I got this kit just because it had a little cutter, but it'll cut that and get a good clean cut, and then hopefully I can make the splice. So I have a junction there, so I don't have to replace the whole hard line. And there we go. I've got a nice clean cut. I just hope I have enough stub there to do a junction. It's a nice clean cut. You can see where that's still nice and thick and solid line. You can see the other end where it was all rusted out and thin, and yeah. junk. So that's still good line there, just if I can do a junction with that little bit of room to work. Fun times. Oh, I got it cut. I've got to put that back down, the plastic back down, but I've run into the problem that the flaring tool I have is it's for multiple sizes and it will not fit here. So I'm going to have to try to get a 3/16 brake line flare tool and fittings, because the fittings they sent are garbage and nowhere near what I need. So I'm going to have to order 3/16 fittings and a flare tool. Hopefully I can find a low profile flare tool that's just 3/16. But that little pipe cutter, I ordered that kit for that pipe cutter, and it was the same price to order that kit as it was to order one of those little pipe cutters. So I'm not complaining about that kit, because that pipe cutter worked brilliantly for what I needed it for in that little tight space. But the flare devices they have in there are humongous. So yeah. So I guess I am done for now. I do have a soft line already ordered, already somewhere sitting waiting, and I've got the hard line, but I've got junction fittings, but the fittings that came with these are supposed to be ready to go fittings. They did not put the right fittings in. They had fittings in with the 1/4 inch, but nothing in there with the 3/16. And it looks like they gave me 1/4 inch and possibly, let's see, what's 3/8 fittings. So yeah, they have large and larger fittings. So I'm gonna have to order fittings. So I got fittings, bushings for those, and maybe an air intake if I can find it. So things to order and try to find. Remember, it's special punch grease. You're not supposed to eat it. It's not punch flavored. Got a flaring tool, a different one from what I had because I could not get the big thing I had in there. Goal is you loosen these up. 10mm on this one. I recommend getting one that does bolts as opposed to the ones that use hex keys, because when you're in a confined space like that, it's hard to get a hex key in there. And but what you do, you loosen this up, you'll feed the brake line through there. Put this is a stop bolt, you put that in there so you can feed your line up to it. And then once you have all this bolted down tight on that line, you remove this one and put this in, this side first. And then it, depending on whether you have that style flare or the double flare, if you have a double flare, you'll be doing that one after you do this one. So that's a breakdown on it. Don't forget your punch grease. Trying to work with no space and no line, and I think I'm going to have to use something stuck in the side so I can actually see. I need a nail. You got a viewing port in here where you're supposed to be able to check and make sure it's meeting up with the bolt. Well, I can't see anything because I've got shocks on this side and holder plate on that side, so I put a nail in there, and now I'm going to see if that line pushes up to the nail. And it is pushing up to the nail. It's close, but it is. So I think I've got enough line that I can get a punch on it. Maybe. And remember, you want to put your fitting on before you flare the line. Which this is going to be fun with this curve, so. Oh, this is going to be more fighting. This has a curve and it has some rubberizer on it, which I'm going to have to remove. So, but yep, the battle goes on.
2 steps forward and 1 step sideways.
Back to using the one I had originally, even though it's not near as nice a device, because I didn't have enough line to put a fitting on behind it and use the nice one. And I'm trying not to have to cut back into the car and put a junction in there and remove the fuel filter and everything else to do it. But this is, I didn't use because, well, I had to order fittings anyway, so, because they sent the wrong fittings. Come on. I'm gonna clamp this down the rest of the way, and it's in a spot where it's very hard to do. So that's that, and then I need the kit. This kit doesn't have the knives. It just has that and this. So that's your flaring die, that's your punch. So, and I'm trying to remember, I've got to look this up again. I don't remember how to use this type real well. I believe, I think I start it with this and finish it with that. No, that goes on like this, like that, and the punch will go in there, but I think I have to start it first. I've got to look again. I haven't looked in a while.
You got it for the pipe cutter in there, which works.
Yep,
well.
I got it for the little tight corner pipe cutter. This whole kit costs what that costs by itself, so I bought it for that, and that worked brilliantly. It fit in there and spun around just fine. I was going to try to use this, but after I got fighting with it, I decided that, well, despite I bought what was supposed to be the right fittings, everything was the wrong size, so I had to order fittings, junction fittings. So I went ahead and ordered this, because in all truthfulness, this is a nicer flaring tool, and I think I'm going to use it for the rest of the stuff, but I just couldn't get enough line to use it, because that requires about half as much line as this does. But that was a lot nicer. If I could have used it, it would have been a lot nicer to use. Now let's hope I can get this even in here. That's going to be the joys of, can I do that? Because this is supposed to slide back behind it. So I think I was supposed to put that on before I tightened it down. Yeah, I should have slid that on before I lowered that bolt. So now I got to loosen it, slide that in, hope I have enough line to get this behind it, and go from there. So, taking this back off.
Let's look at the finished product.
I ended up going with, started it with that, and then went with this, do that kind of flare. Hopefully that works.
Started it with that piece there, and then.
But it didn't have enough of a flare, so I did it that way. So that is supposed to, so I will go that way. I didn't have to remove it. I went through all the trouble of removing that and putting it back on, and I said just slid it that way.
Well, that's why people like us, we showed mistakes so they don't have to make it. That's what he started with right there. Didn't have a size on it. Cool.
316.
Yep. Once he gets it off, we'll see the finished product.
I've got the fitting here. See the lines flared. It's not exactly, but it fits on to this junction just fine. And everything seems to be bolting up tight, so I think this will work. If I was going to do this, I could have not cut all that off. I am going to put, I'm going to clean this with something good, and a whole lot of Flex Seal's probably going on this, try to seal it up. No, don't corrode out real quick. Okay, I've got the junction fitting done, nice and tight. Should make a good fitting. Unfortunately, I had to bolt cutter the soft line, thinking that I had a replacement soft line, just to get this apart because it was so corroded on it was impossible to take apart. And I opened the package that I thought was the soft line for the passenger side. Just set it down. Where'd that go? Oh, where'd it go? Now it has magically vanished. It was right here. I know it was right there. This is Sunfire line. This isn't even for the Kia. Scratch that. I was looking in the wrong box. What are you? Oh! I got all kinds of goodies in this box I didn't realize I had. What are you? And I finally found my seals and the parts for the hubs.
Video
Wonder where
coming
these
soon?
were. Hopefully video coming soon, rebuilding those vacuum hubs. That's what these were. So, video coming soon. If I find those again. But I do have soft line, so there we go. We're still on a go. Although, what the hell is that fitting? Okay. Yep, still go. So, you just gotta figure out which line's which and put it on there and keep going. I gotta make a little short stubby to connect in, but I'll put this on first so I know what I need. And part numbers for the soft hoses for the front.
Let me see here. There it is. Sorry about that. Okay, 011 4810C as in Charlie.
And they both seem to be the exact same.
Okay, 011 43830 Charlie. Do that right there for you. There you go. Okay.
Now I gotta figure out which one's which or if there's any difference in them. Okay, so now we're to the soft line, the banjo boat, which is a 12mm. Gonna get the soft line in so I can get an idea of what size I need to make this junction line. Okay, I got it bolted in. It unscrews, wrench towards the front of the car for loosen, towards the back for tighten, and I did the trick where I cleared where the path was on the bolt so I could see it was lined up with the line and it was good and tight. And this will come up. Now I got to make the little joint section that I'm doing to replace what rotted out. You should be using a tube bender. I just have thumbs. I think I'm going to need to trim this a little shorter, but it's getting there.
Now, did you collapse the inside or anything crazy?
No, it's still nice and round.
Can you blow through it?
Yep, no problem there. It's still staying nice and round. Looks like it's going to be the right angle. I just need to shorten it down a little bit. Okay, since I'm using this one, once again, the nice one won't fit with these little angles, so is that got the space in it, and tighten. You got it tightened down, got it set, and now I'm doing the flare. Luckily, it just has the simple flare. If it had the weird double flare, I'd be in trouble with this machine. You're supposed to be able to make it, but I don't have enough line to make this little connector. And yes, you are better off just replacing the line if you can, but I think I mentioned before how this line is set up. You have to pull the engine block to really replace that line or reroute a new one. And since the rest of the line was in good shape, I decided to go this route instead of replacing the whole line.
Not to mention that routing, a new route would have ran a brake line above the engine block.
Either above it or below it, or up around the front bumper or something, or around the transmission. So it's like, yeah, there was no good way to go about it. It would just look funny having a line run through the suspension support here.
One of those cases that you're like, even weird. think that's too sketchy.
Yeah, this is the best sketchy solution. But I got the part to show off. And there we go. I have the part. I'm probably going to have to bend it a little bit more because I had to unbend it a little bit, but that, if I remember which way goes which, well, no, other one. Connect it in, and that fixes the problem.
Yep.
So, and the nice part about it is where the metal hits the sheet metal is this great big bolt, so it shouldn't rub through. So now it's got to redo this, and I can go ahead and put the clip on, but only at that point. Fight with this rusty clip, which I don't understand why they didn't give you a new clip. But yeah, I'll have to fight with that rusty clip, get it on, get this all bolted down and together, and it'll be good to go. And there we go. That should be it. I had to fight with this and change fittings because the fittings that came with this line didn't fit any of the junctions, so I had to buy ones for junctions, and they're actually the proper size for this line. The ones that came with the line were way too big and had weird threading that didn't match any of the junctions. Well, guess what? It does match the friggin' soft line, so I had to put one of them on for the soft line and over flare it so it would actually not slide off. So hopefully it doesn't leak. But it's all together.
We're going to reiterate, this is a jerry rig. We know this is not the optimal way to do it, but this is the most optimal way we had available to us.
Yeah. Tasty.
How's it working?
It seems I have fluid. I've not been impressed with this new vacuum pump though, because I'm getting mixed results with it not wanting to seal properly with the brake cylinder. So I'm going to bleed it the normal way too, but that got all that junk. I got clean fluid coming out, which I know that didn't seal off, but it's no practical way. They gave you these, which are nice, but the insert, the lock point is way up in there, so you can't have a wrench on there and use it at the same time, so it's impossible to close it while you're using it.
I got a slightly, possibly unrelated question to your current rant. Where'd you get that?
Amazon site. It was the cheapest one.
Yep.
That wasn't plastic. The pump works fine. It's just these ends that I'm having issues with. So nice ends, but I can't get them to work for a slot, and the hose line is a little off. So I'm tempted to cut these because it has that cover for the cap. I'm tempted to cut that cover off so it just has the nipple part. And I have brake pressure.
So far, dry.
Well, I have brakes in it. It's not leaking, so that's good.
We got a tiny, tiny driplet drop.
Where at?
Right there. Looks like it's coming from...
Back part?
Yeah. Let me see here. Not from this side. From back. Like this junction here, it feels like.
Alright, I can try tightening that up.
Alright. It works! Now time for bleeding.
Yeah, I had to change out that center junction. Whatever reason, the one I had in there was not sealing. New one took care of it though.
Yeah. So we're going to bleed these brakes, and then we're going to change the oil. And then...
yeah, that's going to be the goal. I do have a slight problem with bleeding the brakes. I used all the brake fluid. I do have brakes now though. I did bleed that one.
Yeah.
They just all need bled because that line's been broken since March of last year.
Yep.
Oh,
He's happy. He's got his green baby dip back. The turd's back.
Yep. Piece of shit one is back.
Yes. The what do we call things? Torque the turtle. Racing turtle's back.
Torque the racing turtle's back.
He's happy. So he's going to continue to bleed brakes and yada yada yada. This may be it. Is this the end of this video or?
Yeah, this is gonna be it because I've got brakes again. So brakes are in, clutch is in. Oh, yes and no. Dang it, I lost the bolt. That is the hardest bolt to get back in. I was gonna fix this. Didn't have to. Actually found one online with clips and everything. So just gonna change them out.
Where'd you find that one at?
Amazon. They actually had a bunch of different ones. This one was, luckily it was clearance. It was half price. They're all made in China. All probably made in the same place. Just this one, company selling it was getting rid of them.
So if you need one, get one.
Yeah.
5.
But it's good heavy rubber. Everything's attached good. So I'll have to loosen that up. Put that on there. Put that back on. Put the air box back on. So that'll be all that. So it's just a lot of reassembling. So if this isn't the end of it, you'll get a shot of it all together. Which you can just look at the beginning of this video and see it all together. The good news is I found the parts for the hubs I haven't been able to find. Now I got to remember where I put the hubs again.
So he can lose the parts for the hubs.
It's a cycle. I find the hubs and I can't find the parts for the hubs, and I find the parts for the hubs and I don't remember where I put the hubs. I'm organized now.
Yes.
I've lost my screwdriver though.
Please like, share,
and a bunch of screws. Like, share, subscribe, and have a good one.
Thank y'all for hanging out.